Hi, welcome to this week's Cool Chief episode. Very excited today because I have Deb Gutierrez with us, and she is a health and fitness coach whose mission is to help us women in midlife stop grinding it out when we're trying to lose weight or be healthier. And we're going to get into that meat of the topic pretty quickly here. But before that, if you haven't seen one of these Cool Chief episodes before and you don't know who I am, my name is Jack Perez. I am the founder and CEO of Kuel. Cool Life is an online platform and a curated shopping experience for women in our second act. And I spell Cool Life all cattywampus. It's spelled with a K, Kuellife. And the shop focuses on women entrepreneurs. The concept is when you go out and buy at the Cool Shop, you purchase with a purpose. You will not only get a handmade, crafted, beautiful item, but you also get to empower a woman-owned business. But that is not what we're here to talk about. Deb, welcome.
Thank you for having me here. I'm excited about it.
I'm very excited about having you here as well. I introduced you very briefly, but I cannot do it justice. Can you do me a favor and an honor by introducing yourself to the Cool Life community and how you became a health and fitness coach?
Sure. That'd be great. Thank you very much. I sort of have always been very active. I participated in distance running and triathloning in the 1990s primarily. Kind of a weird small injury and couldn't really continue with running so much, but I always continued to move. I fast forward in 2009, decided to become a personal trainer and just kind of working at doing something different, and noticed a lot of things missing in that space of personal training. I tend to be the person other trainers came to for nutrition. And the missing big piece still seemed to be stress. People were so stressed by certain things that it sort of got in their way of their health goals, their fat loss goals. And so I kind of fast forwarded, did some more nutrition certification things to get more involved with nutrition coaching, and just kind of came all the way into where we are today.
And where do I have the pleasure of hosting you from? Where are you right now?
I currently, at the very moment, am in Boise, Idaho, where I lived for 20 years. And now I currently live in the San Francisco area in California, obviously.
Awesome.
But I come to Boise often. I have two sons here in the state of Idaho, and so I am friends, and I love being here.
So let's talk about one of the topics that I know we have that's a big topic for us in women in midlife is increased belly fat and weight around the midsection. I know that this is a topic that's dear to you and that you're very passionate about. What can you tell us about that might make us feel a little bit better or guide us in a way to help us with this?
Right. There's a lot of things. I think a lot of women I have found just chalk it up as to getting older and menopause, and they get to a certain point and they're so frustrated. A lot of them have become very overweight, and they just don't know what to do anymore because they've been dieting forever, right? And they have tried the moving more and eating less, and they've tried this nutrition plan and that nutrition plan, and it ends up being this overwhelming, over-consuming, too much information coming from different directions. And that's part of the issue, is we become overwhelmed and stressed about what's the best thing for us. We're all very individual. And at the end of the day, it comes down to figuring out we have the capability of listening to those biofeedback, the little signs on how to help lose that belly fat. And those signs are really, there's 5 of them, but I'll talk about 3 in particular. Are what's our hunger level, what's our energy levels, and what are our cravings? Those are the
When you
three.
say biofeedback, you're talking about like just paying attention to what your body is doing.
Right,
Okay.
exactly, right?
Okay.
Paying attention to what our body's doing. A lot of times I talk about with people is that our body is more of a thermostat than a calculator. And I mean that because a lot of times we go on that diet, right? So with it, we're eating less and moving more, eating less, moving more over and over again. Well, it's not that simple. It's not that old paradigm of doing that. It just doesn't work. You can only do that for so long, and your body says, this isn't working anymore. So your metabolism will slow down, right?
Okay.
So that's one of the things that just don't work.
It
So
worked when I was younger. That worked. When I was younger, if I had gained a couple of pounds, all I needed to do was cut back a little bit on my food intake and run an extra day, and I would recalibrate. But I guess that changes over time.
well, a couple things. Number one, we start to lose the muscle mass as we get older. Therefore, we have a little bit more fat mass. And your fat can be bossy. Our fat can be bossy. It likes to have a little bit more extra fat, right? So what really it comes down to there are two things that people really need to know. At the end of the day, in order to lose belly fat, let's just say belly fat, because a lot of that fat is the fat that's really not the safe fat, right? That's not what happens is when our estrogen levels do get lower as we age in particular, that's the reason that the belly fat kind of comes in. Because when we have a higher estrogen levels, that shapely figure, that hourglass figure that women have, that's really kind of dictated, believe it or not, by estrogen. So when the estrogen levels get lower, our fat stores kind of go into that belly. Anyhow, where was I
Well,
before?
and when you say belly, it's not just in the front. It's also what we experience as back fat, right? Because it's all around the midsection. Is that true?
Yes. Yes, and that's what I like to call our Dunlop, right? Like the Dunlap tire, right? It's
Yeah.
the whole circumference.
The muffin top.
Yeah, right. So, and it can be discouraging. So understanding that the two most important factors really are somehow to get some balance in our hormones and a little bit of a calorie deficit at the end of the day. And so when we're talking about when we were younger, it's true, but no matter what, if we continue to always eat less and exercise more, your metabolism will fight back. And eventually you're going to feel that hunger. You're going to be cranky, right? Hangry.
Yeah.
It's not going to work for you because your metabolism will decrease if that keeps happening, and you can't sustain that. You can't not eat at all, right?
Right. Well, is it true? Is this an old wives' tale? But I've heard that if you do that for an extended period of time, that you can actually put your body into like a starvation mode or some where it starts to really use less of the fuel that you're giving it, thereby kind of making it a moot. What you're doing, it ends up like making it a moot point because your body goes into sort of this, oh my gosh, I'm starving. I better use less energy.
Well, that's a thing we used to say a lot, and it's not necessarily really true anymore. But what happens is, all right, you're eating and trying to move out more, your metabolism is slowing down, you're increasing your stress, okay? That is what is fighting against us. So when the two major hormones that are important for fat loss, bottom line, for our metabolism, for that thermostat to work well, the two things that impact it the most are the insulin and cortisol. If insulin is too high, we're going to not be able to expend fat. So when insulin's being produced, we're not using energy. Insulin is a storage hormone, right? It is the primary metabolic hormone. So when we're stressed out and we might have excess cortisol levels in our body that we don't want in there, we have to have cortisol. There's a really good reason for it. It's our energy source, really, in a way. But if it's too much, not a good thing either, right? Because too much cortisol will also increase insulin. Too much insulin, if we aren't using all the fuel that's coming into our body, the insulin helps that fuel get to our cells.
Okay.
This is, and then we are able to utilize that energy. If we're not using the energy that's in our cells, it gets stored as fat.
Okay.
So
So what do we do about that? Because, you know, I get it, but I don't know how do I control my insulin and cortisol level? Because I gotta tell you, being a mom of a teenager, I have surges of cortisol all the time.
So lifestyle factors really do matter. And when I was talking about biofeedback, so there's a method to kind of eating certain types of foods or having some experience and noticing within an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and 4 hours later, what is your hunger like? What are your energy levels like? What kind of foods are you craving? So those are the biofeedbacks I was telling us about, because if we can manage those, if we can balance that hunger, that energy, and that cravings, it tells you that your insulin and cortisol are working better for you and you're utilizing stuff. So
Wait a minute. I want to reflect back what I think I heard, because
yes,
I think what I just heard you say is that we need to experiment with the types of foods and when we eat them, and then take note, like literally keep a notebook of how we're feeling, because if we're stressed out or hungry or anxious, it is probably because our insulin and cortisol is out of whack. And that's how we would tell. That's our tell factor.
yeah. And we're able to actually tell
Okay.
that what's going on in the thermostat with the hunger, the energy, and the cravings. That it's something that we don't equate to fat loss on.
No. So what happens if you crave? So I crave something sweet at the end of the day, like a cookie. It doesn't have to be 10 cookies, but I'll crave a cookie or a chocolate kiss or something, or a piece of dark chocolate. What is my body telling me?
And you know what? And that's a typical craving. And that's really, it is at the end of the day that your body is telling you a lot of things. Your cortisol levels are dropping because we go to sleep. Though we only need that. Our cortisol levels kind of go with our circadian rhythm in a way, right? It's kind of a cycling thing. So it goes up in the morning when we wake up. That's how we get up, and it dies down throughout the day. And then melatonin kicks in at night to help us go to sleep. And a lot of times that's just kind of a normal thing. It's kind of like, oh, it's this time of day. I've been used to these sweet treats since we were kids. We had dessert, right? So some of it's those little, your body's just kind of saying, oh, I'm used to a sweet treat. Sometimes it's after we had our big meal of the evening,
Right.
when our blood sugar levels up, they to go down again. And a lot of times our body's like craving that sweet thing. So a lot of times it is just because we ate so much towards the end of the day and our blood sugar's dropping and we're getting tired. Our natural melatonin, if we're doing things right and not shoving screens in our face all evening long, our melatonin starts to kick in. And it's sort of that thing that just really, it's a craving that says, I just kind of want to be soothed at the moment. So it's not the worst of the cravings, right? Unless you have that insatiable desire to eat a pound of ice cream. That's a different story.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm lucky. A little goes a long way, but I do notice I don't really eat sweets during the day. That's not what I crave. I'm a more like cheese and cracker kind of person, right? But at the end of the day, and it's like clockwork. And I wondered, well, what's my insulin and cortisol level telling me? Because I didn't even realize that that's what's going on. So that's interesting. So what's a craving you need to worry about, I guess, if you're.
Oh, that's really good. Okay. I off the top of my head here, trying to answer that, I think that the cravings really come down to, are you craving those excess carbohydrates, those simple foods as junky foods? What is that coming down about? Do you have let's just say you have somebody who eats breakfast, say at 8:30 in the morning, is it 2 hours later, are you still are you hungry again and craving for something else sweet? What did you have for breakfast? What affected that? Maybe you're somebody who practices an intermittent fasting protocol, there's a lot of reasons that you hear a lot of people practicing that now. Maybe you didn't eat till noon, let's say, and all of a sudden you can't stop eating and can't stop eating and can't stop eating. what do it's not necessarily that you're hungry, but you keep craving more and more and more foods. So those are the kind of things I'm
Okay, so
mostly.
let's say that happens. Let's say that you eat at noon, and you have a really hard time not continuing to eat for the rest of the day. What potentially could be going on for you? Like, what's that biofeedback? Like, what could you do differently to test, maybe a way of changing that, of changing what's going on for you? What should you be concerned about, I guess, is what I'm trying to, I don't even know what I'm trying to ask.
A couple things are, there's a hormone that tells us when we're full, right? And that's not being triggered. There are receptors in the brain that must be saying, okay, well, I'm still hungry, but why, right? So once again, it all still goes back to those lifestyle factors. How was your sleep the night before?
Okay.
That's a big one, right? And so you kind of have to look at all the different avenues. How was the sleep the night before? What did I eat? Was the food I ate, was there a solid amount of protein? A solid amount of vegetables that were fiber rich and also included water in there, meaning the vegetables have a lot of water, right? Did I have some eggs, a little bit of fruit, and a piece of toast? What were the things was it avocado toast? The reason I say all that is because what we eat will determine a lot of times what those cravings are, or those continuous need to keep eating, because it didn't signal the brain that we're really full.
So I find that if I don't eat breakfast right when I get up, and sometimes I think it's because I'm intermittent fasting. Sometimes I think it's just because I forget. It depends.
Not uncommon.
But sometimes I find that if I take the time to make myself an egg and like a couple of slices of bacon, then I'm not hungry again, like for a long time. Versus if I have, like a piece of toast or a couple of crackers or something like that, then I tend to be hungrier, quicker. Is that?
And that's the insulin we were talking about. That's blood sugar and insulin at the end of the day is just that. And we use it relatively quickly. We go through it relatively quickly. And then our bodies kind of say, oh, I want more. Okay. Whereas what we really have people focus on is enough protein at each meal. And once again, enough fiber and water. And usually that incorporates some kind of lean protein. I say lean protein, any kind of protein, whether it's eggs, chicken, fish, turkey, all that. Right. And lots of greens. And those greens have a lot of water in them. Now, we've all heard that sounds great, but some people are like, okay, that's just boring. I can't eat like that. And, you kind of adapt to it. You start learning about it. And if you're really interested for people who are really, really want to lose fat and are really tired of feeling poorly and are worried about staying healthy, you pretty much adapt to it and you get used to it and you figure out what works. You do the tweaks, you see if you have cravings and things like that. But there are a lot of people who do all of a sudden start eating and they just can't stop eating. And it's that damn hormone doesn't tell ourselves to stop eating. So maybe intermittent fasting isn't the right thing for you because you can't put the fork down.
Right. So how do you, that sounds like that could be a potential medical problem. Like if your hormone doesn't kick in to tell you that you're full. I mean, that sounds like a problem.
It's literally a hunger hormone. It's our hormone there's a hormone that says you are full. And if it gets shut off, it could be shut off based upon a few things. Once again, like I said, our fat is bossy. So as we get older and we lose muscle mass and we have more fat, that fat gets bossy and it kind of says, I want to keep eating. So it kind of turns off the receptor in the brain, that hunger, the leptin in the brain is to turns that receptor off, so we keep eating. Therefore, we overeat and we continue to gain weight. So that has to do with fat being bossy, and insulin will also. If insulin's too high, and we have this tendency to, because we're overeating, the insulin will also cause that other hormone in the brain receptor to kind of shut off. If that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. So Deb, we're coming near to the end of our episode, but if someone wanted to reach out to you to get further information, or they have further questions, first of all, if you do, you can put them in the comment, and I'll make sure we circle back around, Deb and I, to make sure that we address your comments or your questions. And also, if you have suggestions, I'd love to have Deb back, and we could have her back on a different topic. So if you have any questions or ideas for further topics, please let us know. But Deb, where can someone find you? Can they find you through a website or?
Yes. So I'm just about to kind of launch, but right now you can definitely contact me at debghealth.com.
Okay.
And the whole website is not officially launched, but there's places to connect with me there.
Okay.
There's some links to message me, and people can direct message me on Instagram at debghealth as well. I mean, we're all on that dang platform now,
We are. And we're going to FierceCon too at the end of October, so they could come to FierceCon and meet both of us live.
Oh, and meet some pretty incredible people who are quite life-changing. I mean, these stories that people will share, the panelists will share there, are very inspiring to have us move forward in a lot of positive ways in this stage of life, whether we call it the second act or the third act.
Well, I'm honored because I'm going to be speaking. I'm going to be one of the panelists. So I'm very excited, and I'm trying to bring some cool lifers with me. So I'm trying to bring a cool life party to FierceCon. So hopefully that'll work out, and we can merge two groups of really cool and fierce women. If you haven't had a chance to go out to Cool Life, I encourage you to. It's coollife.com. All the content is relevant and written for us women in our second act or midlife. And a lot of it is written by experts, not just me. I mean, experts in beauty and makeup and wellness and health and fitness, all targeted to us. There's no excuse. It's all great content. So I encourage you to go out there and peruse the content. And also, you get to hear and learn about real women. They are sharing their stories with other women, and it's a fantastic platform. So if you actually want to share your story out there, please just direct message me or private message me or contact me through the website. I would love to get your story told as well. So, and Deb's going to have her story told pretty soon here too. So I'm very excited about that. Deb, thank you so much for joining me today. And I look forward to having another chit chat with you at some point in time about another great topic for us women.
Thank you. And I just appreciate all that you're doing and your voice and your compassion for helping women just, feel really good about this chapter in our lives.
Thank you. It's important. We're not going anywhere.
No, we ain't.
All right. We will talk soon.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.